Muslims, from Adam down to our own time. So if the Jews or the Christians are demanding something and basing it on the fact that there was a king called Solomon or a king called David or a prophet called Moses or Jesus, then of course what they are doing, they are saying something which is not true, or in fact they don't know that all these figures were basically Muslim figures. They were, in fact, since the creation of the world there is only one religion, and this is the religion of Islam. So if anybody says, look, there is a place which is connected with Solomon, and that's the place where the Temple of Solomon stood, a true Muslim would tell you, yes, absolutely right, but don't forget that Solomon was a Muslim, and David was a Muslim, and Abraham was a Muslim, and Isaac was a Muslim, and Jesus was a Muslim. And this is what I mean by the Islamization of history. And you can understand that through Islamization of history, you've got Islamization of geography. Anywhere which was connected with these people, or with these prophets, which were all Muslims, becomes a Muslim territory. And therefore, when Islam was not in that area before Muhammad came to it, but it should have been there. In that area, I mean in the Middle East or other parts outside the Middle East, which are now Muslim parts. Any place like this had to be freed, not to be conquered, had to be liberated. So Islam appeared in history in the time of Muhammad, or reappeared in history from their point of view, reappeared in history as a liberator. And therefore there is no Islamic occupation. If somebody occupied anything, it would be always somebody else, not the Muslims. So there is no Islamic occupation, there is only Islamic liberation. So there is no Islamic occupation, there is only Islamic liberation.
Very important question, because the idea that the Islamic world collapsed from within is one which I believe comes first of all from when Muslims were traumatized by this absolute huge thing that came from outside and destroyed something that had existed for more than 1,000 years in a state of stability. And I'm talking about social stability. Actually, what is remarkable about Islamic civilization is that, first of all, it is the only universal civilization. There can only be one universal. It spread from Arabia through to China and all the way across to West Africa. And it embodied all the different peoples and nations. And unlike, say, the Roman civilization or the Chinese civilization, which was utterly dependent upon the dynasty, when the Chinese emperor fell, it was chaos until it was reinstated, and the state was its. When the Roman Empire fell, it all fell. That world fell. With Islam, dynasties came and went, hundreds of them, because the relationship, the whole structure of Islamic civilization was not dependent upon the dynasty. The dynasty had a role to play, but the stability and the power of the civilization was within the whole Sharia culture education system, the world maintained by the scholars. So the important thing is that it was the great civilization of the Sharia and of the educational structure and of the arts. The senses, you know, when you come to this wonderful trilogy of the mystical cognition, the reasoning mind, and the senses, the three ways we can comprehend, the three ways we understand the world. And in this God movement which took place within Islam, the senses, the knowledge of the senses is realized through the artist. They are the wise ones of the senses because they have heightened senses. And the environment that they created, the Islamic environment from West Africa through to China, the environment was unified. And the environment manifested unity. The geometric form, the structures. Reasoning mind in Islam did not go AWOL like it did in the West, where it took off on its own. It reached that point of glorious conviction and clarity, because all of these three capacities for knowledge, for understanding, were directed towards receiving the revelation, of understanding the revelation. Now, that world, the inheritors of the Prophet, were the scholars. And that was where the power of Islamic civilization lay. And dynasties came to do their job, maintain certain orders, and they went. But the civilization continued on. And that civilization, that world, was intact right up until the 19th century. It was operative. It was able to take certain of the stresses and strains. But when the Industrial Revolution happened, and when the whole development in Europe took place, and when Europe descended into the world of the phonic principle of going deep into matter, of releasing powers, of developing powers which were beyond anything that you could develop if you were maintaining Mizan, nothing could withstand the power of them. Nothing. The power, it's like, you just think of it, going from fighting with bows and arrows, swords, chivalry, to the atom bomb. By going down into the sonic realm, you create an aberration of monstrous capacity, because this material reality, or appearance of reality, you claim to be the whole. And once you claim a part to be the whole, you produce an aberration. So you can't balance the West with Islam. It's impossible. These two worlds have two completely different dynamics.